didn't record
So some warm-ups for today. I'm going to hit pause in just a minute, but try to get those, try those three, and then we'll come back and look at them. Number one, I think, has 4 answers. Number 2 has 3 distinct answers. See what that means in a minute. And number 3 has 3 answers. So press pause on the video and try those. Zoom. So what do we do first on number 1? Square root both sides. And what alarm bells are going off on our heads when we say square root both sides? Plus or minus. And again, whenever I say what do you have to remember to do, everybody knows what I'm talking about. But some of you didn't remember to do that until I said, hey, don't forget, and then immediately you remembered. But you got to remember that from the get-go. If you square root both sides, you have to include the plus or minus. That one simplifies nicely because we can square root the bottom, and then we get a nice unit circle value. We like the plus or minus because what does that mean in terms of quadrants? All of them. So let's see, cosine is root 3 over 2. Root 3 over 2 is the long side. Cosine is left and right, so that would be all the over 6s. Pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 over 6, and 11 over 6. Number 2. What do I need to do first on number 2? Move the cosine over, right? Don't divide by cosine. Move it over. A few of you moved it over and factored it out all at once, which is fine. Move it over. Factor it out. And then set each of the pieces equal to 0. So cosine of x equals 0, and sine of 2x equals -1. So let's see, cosine's equal to 0 there and there, so that would be pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. And then sine is equal to -1 down there.
Where's the other cosine go?
What do you mean, where'd the other cosine go? Yeah, I factored it out. And that 1 there. You okay? Okay. So 2x is, let's see, that's 3 pi over 2. But with that 2 there means I need to double my answers, so I need to add 2 pi to that. So that would be 7 pi over 2. And then I need to divide by 2, which means I was wrong earlier when I said there were 3 distinct answers.
No, that doesn't happen.
There are 4 distinct answers. Yes, once in a while. I was thinking the 3 pi over 2s were the same answer. And that's the same number, but I wasn't done yet. I needed to divide by 2. So 4 different answers for number 2. And then number 3, you can factor it as it sits, or you can put in the u's. Either way, I'm going to put in the u's because it's easy to show. It's like teaching-wise, it's easiest to do it this way first and then show it the other way. So again, that means u is sine of x. It's not really anything there other than it just makes factoring easier. Rather than looking at sines, we're looking at u's. This is about as easy as a one you could have, especially with a lead coefficient not 1. It's got to be 2u and u. It's got to be 1 and 1. And everything's positive. So 2 sine x plus 1 and sine x plus 1.
What is 2a?
Now, again, if you don't want to do the u substitution, and jump straight. You can jump straight to there. That's perfectly okay.
Why is it U?
It's just I use the U because it's easier to look at. I mean, the factoring is the same, but it's a lot easier to look at this second statement than it is to look at the first statement. So if it bugs you to see that stuff in there, then do a U substitution, and it makes your life a little easier for factoring, and then put it back in after you've done the factoring part. Allie?
Can we use any variable that we need?
Yeah. I guess the only variable I'd say you can't officially use would be X, since it's already taken.
Yes.
Even then, you could use it. You just have to be real careful. If X equals sine of X, then that could get confusing. But it's such a small step, you could still do that and be fine. But yeah, you could use any other variable and be completely okay. Y or A or P, whatever you like. We just use U because in calculus we do a lot of U substitution. So we want you to get used to seeing that, using that variable. But you're right, it doesn't matter. All right, so sine of X equals negative 1/2, and sine of X equals negative 1. So negative 1/2 would be third and fourth quadrant. 1/2 is the shallow angle. So 7/6 and 11/6. And then sine is negative 1 at the bottom. 3π/2. Again, those mirror the quiz. And that's a pretty good sampling of types of problems because there was one square root, so the plus or minus thing. Number 2 had a GCF factoring, and number 3 had sort of the other kind of factoring. So, I mean, I wouldn't say that's everything because there's not a tangent problem, but that's a pretty good overview.